Hey YouTube, today I wanted to show you all of the living books. There's a huge stack here of living books that we will be using for our early American history curriculum this year. I am using the Beautiful Feet books, Early American History for primary grades. I'm using their book list, and I chose not to follow their layout for using these because I want to cover more and go through more books, and I want to do it in a slightly faster manner than what they have laid out. So I'm going to go ahead and get right to it and show you each and every book that I have, and then I'll give you a list of the books that I will need to be borrowing from the library. So we will be starting in Viking Times. We'll start off with Leif the Lucky. This is a Dallaire book. I absolutely love these. I have their entire history set except for Buffalo Bill. It's the only one I'm lacking. So we'll start off here with the Vikings using this book. And then I'm going to head right into Eric the Red and Leif the Lucky. This will probably act as a free read for my daughter. And I may have her read it to my middle son, who is going to be doing curriculum with her this year. And then we have Growing Up in Viking Times. We started into this at the end of last year while we were going through Viking Tales. And so we will probably just finish that out as a family. Next up, I have Columbus. And it's another Dallaire book. If you've never seen inside of these, I'll go ahead and give you a peek. Really great illustrations. I'm gonna find some good stuff in here for you. Yeah. And not all of them are colored. There are some black and white illustrations as well. But really good books, definitely worth seeking out and adding to your collection. And then this is a step into reading book. It's called Christopher Columbus. I'm planning to have my daughter free read this one. Then I have The Discovery of the Americas, and it starts off with people coming from Asia over the land bridge into the Americas. And then it stops at, let's see here, it looks like 1500s with Magellan. So I will be going through this with them and just using parts of it as we're going through that area on the timeline, or that point in time on the timeline, if that makes sense. Next up, I have Pocahontas, and this is another Dallaire book. Highly, highly recommend these books. Very well written. And while I dream of someday doing an entire year's curriculum based around Native Americans, possibly even indigenous peoples like around the world, I really have a passion for that, because specifically Native Americans, because they were here first, and I really love the idea of having a strong understanding of the various groups, and just to make us more well-rounded as people. So this book, and I'm not sure how politically correct this will end up being, it's a very old book, so I'll probably end up pre-reading this before I have my children read it, but it's called Indians, the First Americans by Patricia Martin. I plan on adding this one in as a read aloud with the family, as a whole family. Then I have The Very First Americans, and I may end up doing this as a free read for my daughter. It's a pretty simple looking book. As far as vocabulary goes, it looks fairly simple. Next up, I have Massasoit, Friend of the Pilgrims, and this is actually supposed to be, I'm supposed to be using Squanto, Friend of the Pilgrims, and we'll see. I'm going to end up having to borrow that one from the library as long as they have it. And then I have If You Sailed on the Mayflower in 1620. I really enjoyed those sorts of books where it gives you an idea of what the life was like. That one does it via questions and answers. So would you live in a log cabin? What were the terms of the peace treaty? Where would you sleep? So this one's more like questions and answers, whereas the other book that I showed you earlier, the Growing Up in Viking Times, it's more of education and learning, and they give you a few short little paragraphs about that and what it was like during that time, and then religious beliefs, and it just goes over some of the things like how it would be to live during those times. But very cool little books to get into the lifestyle a little bit more. The Plymouth Thanksgiving, I picked this up at a library sale. The Matchlock Gun, I'm very excited for this one because this is the first time I've ever heard of it, and just sifting through it quickly, it looks very interesting. Next up, I have Benjamin Franklin, another Dallaire book. And then I have Benjamin West and His Cat Grimlikin. This one's by Marguerite Henry and Wesley Davis. And it looks like a very, very extremely well done book. I'm excited for this one. Ben Franklin and the Magic Squares. This is a step into reading book. I will probably just have my daughter read this on her own and come and tell me about it. Growing Up in Colonial America. George Washington, another Dallaire book. Sam the Minuteman. A Birthday for General Washington. If You Grew Up with George Washington. Paul Revere's Ride. This is another step into reading book. So again, I will probably just have my daughter read it and then come and tell me what she learned from it or her favorite thing about it. Paul Revere's Ride by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I'm really excited for this one because I like how it's written poetically, and this just looks like it's very, very well done, and I'm excited for it. Nice illustrations. Good book that I came across. Next up is George the Drummer Boy, and this is an I Can Read book. So with this one, again, I will have my daughter read this and then possibly read it to her brother or brothers and come and tell me about it. The Story of Mount Vernon. I have not had the ability to flip through this one yet, but I've seen it on some lists, so I figured why not. Lewis and Clark, A Prairie Dog for President. This one's a step into reading book as well. So again, my older daughter my only daughter, but my oldest will be reading this. And then back to the Dallaire books, Abraham Lincoln. And then we'll go into Mr. Lincoln's Whiskers. Abe Lincoln's Hat. I'm really excited for this one. We've read it before and it's really cute. So we'll be, I'll have my daughter read it aloud for us. If You Lived at the Time of the Civil War. And then we'll go into Frontier Farmer. And this, I wanted it to kind of go along with Buffalo Bill, which I do not own Buffalo Bill from the Dallaire books, and I will be borrowing that one from the library unless I come across it and am able to buy it before then. We will also be finishing up 50 Famous Stories Retold. I did not get the whole way through it last year with them during their year one. So as I previously mentioned, I'm calling this year 1.5 for them. And we're using some Ambleside Online stuff mixed with the Beautiful Feet curriculum. And then I'm also just throwing in extra stuff that I have accumulated over the years. Finally, I'm going to have them read this about the Wright brothers, just because I find it interesting, and we'll be visiting the Outer Banks, not this coming summer, but the following summer. So I figured this would be a fun introduction for them before we go there. And then Marie Curie, Brave Scientist. So I wanted to get some women from history in there for this year. And I also like the idea of my children learning about famous scientists in history. And I just so happen to have this book, so this is where we're starting at. I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and go over the list that I will have to go and get from the library. It's a relatively short list, thankfully, so hopefully I won't rack up too many library fines, because sometimes it's hard to return books to the library whenever you have 3 little ones with you. So the ones I'm going to be borrowing from the library that'll be sprinkled in here in between are Jamestown, New World Adventure, Pilgrim Stories, Squanto, Friend of the Pilgrims, Pilgrims of Plymouth, The Courage of Sarah Noble, A More Perfect Union, Story of Our Constitution, Winter at Valley Forge, The 4th of July Story, Last Stop on Market Street, Meet Abraham Lincoln, and Buffalo Bill. So that is not too long of a list. I'm looking at the stack of books here. I don't even know if I can pick them all up. Oh my goodness. So this is most of our history curriculum for this year. I think we may end up spreading it out over 2 years. Oh my. But we shall see how that goes. I think if I end up, I was toying with the idea of starting into the story of the world this year, and I think if I end up doing that and using that as our world history and doing this as our American history, I may end up spreading this big old stack of books over 2 years and do Story of the World Volume 1 this year, do Story of the World Volume 2 next year. We'll see. I mean, it's only August 31st. I still have time, right? We're starting in 4 or 5 days, and I can still switch it up if I want to. I don't think I will, though. I may end up adding in Story of the World at some point during the school year. But for right now, I think I'm just going to stick with this because I want to ease them in to this school year, and I want to be more laid back this year. So if you like this this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, go ahead and subscribe. I do plan on videoing a day in the life for our first day of homeschool, or doing a first day back to homeschool for us video that I will hopefully have. I'm planning on starting on the day after Labor Day, so I should be able to have that up. If not that evening, then the following day. So I will be getting that out. I want to go through my planning of our first day and how I want to see that go. And just figuring out how I think things will run and how it'll work. So I have a few things churning in my mind that I want to get out there, and I will get those out to you as soon as I can. Hopefully it isn't months like what was between the last videos that I did and these recent ones. But keep on commenting. It's very, very encouraging to read your comments. I love it. And keep on watching. And if you have a channel, please let me know. I love watching other homeschoolers. It's fabulous. I absolutely love it. So like, share, and subscribe. And thank you. Thank you so much for watching.